Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica. We got a fun and random episode for you guys this Tuesday because you can't keep a good vampire down. Dracula is back and he needs some slaying. And last time we talked about Castlevania the Arcade on the channel, it's because a member of my Discord, Dremcast, and I were able to source files and release them to the public so everyone can enjoy this video game from a historical standpoint because it is an exceedingly rare game. Well, I am here today with a work-in-progress demo of transposing the controls over to a mouse. This is going to be available very shortly. It's possible later today, if not sometime this week, because some people are working on this in the background. It is not done yet, but when it is done, it will be released for everybody to play for free, just the way I like it. But you can see here, I am in-game. I am using the mouse, both the button as well as moving it around to emulate the whip strike. Now, I use a trackball, and that works perfectly to get momentum going, but I'm sure this will be quickly transposed over to stuff like the Wiimote or maybe even PlayStation Move as well, so you can actually swing your arm around. But if you throw your Wiimote into the television, do not come complaining to me. All jokes aside, I've seen plenty of videos of people doing it, so be careful out there. But I am so incredibly happy to be able to play this game and talk about it, and to allow other people to enjoy the same thing. And like I said earlier, this is not going to cost you anything. This is going to be a free tool when it is released. But getting into the game itself, it's been a lot of years since I played this, and you will see it is a little dark, and there is a trade-off mechanic in Castlevania the Arcade. If you shoot those lights, you get more hearts for your sub-weapon. But if you shoot the lights, the candles, things such as that, the scene is going to get darker and it's going to become more challenging to actually see your enemies, and I love that as a mechanic. But as far as the calibration, at least on my setup, is concerned with mouse aiming, this is one-to-one perfectly accurate. Where my mouse cursor is, and it's not being captured by OBS, I blocked it, is the dead center of that blue icon on the screen. And you will see here in the beginning of the game, it explains how you're supposed to use that to attack. Now, of course, if we had something like the Wii remote running right now, it would be a lot more close to the arcade board, but of course it's a Castlevania game, so you're going to get some wall meat. It's going to be in those candles. But it is fun to see this running, and you can do this in English. I actually like the Japanese, but you can change the INI file to convert this over to the English language version as well. But honestly, it's a Castlevania arcade game. The story's not much there, so you're not really missing out. But this is such an incredible game. It is a ton of fun, and I love the dual mechanics between whipping at the screen with the mouse as well as clicking for more of a light gun style game, because sometimes you have to wait for enemies to come close to you, but the game will also give you enemies in the distance that you need to pick off with that sub-weapon, and I will show you more of that shortly. But this is just amazing to see running. This may be one of the proudest moments on this channel, being able to do something for the community. But honestly, I'm probably the most proud of the 3DO-M2 dumps, but who owns the hardware to play those? This is a PC game, which means pretty much everyone can enjoy it unless you have a Mac, and if you do, you're gonna have to find a PC. You will see via the INI file here, we can enable the secret characters as well as a level select, but fair warning right now, at least in this beta, level 4 and 5 never load whatsoever. Level 3 sometimes loads, but this is known. I have sent bug reports in, and they're going to be looking at this shortly. But big thanks to Argon LaFaux for working on this. He is the developer that did some of the memory patching and button assignments, because how this basically works is it's going to access memory addresses and transpose information to get this control scheme transposed over. Now, fair warning, you can do whatever you would like. Some systems will throw this tool up as a virus. You can give it an exemption. I'm running it on my system, and I've been using this tool before. But if you do see a virus alert, do your due diligence, look into it, because I am not here to give you technical support as far as that is concerned. But visually, this game is stunning, and this is not a recent game either. This is decently old, but I love all the transparency and fog effects, and I just love going through Castlevania in a first-person view with this light gun aesthetic behind it. Almost makes me think that maybe Konami should do what Resident Evil did and go first person for a game. It might be interesting to check it out. But leave me a comment down below and tell me if you think that's a terrible idea and what your favorite Castlevania game is, because I would be curious. I'll tell you right now, for non-Metroidvania, it's Rondo of Blood, and for Metroidvania, it's obviously Symphony of the Night. But as we come into the first boss battle here, it's going to be a character you're going to be very familiar with from the Castlevania canon. It is our old friend Death. Interesting to see him come up so early in the game, but in Rondo he shows up as well, so it kind of does make a little bit of sense. And that is a sharp scythe, because it just went through an entire pillar. But this is going to be so much fun for everyone to play. I can't wait to see people get into this. And what I really can't wait to see is 1cc attempts and speed runs and high score attacks of the game, because I've got a lot of different friends out there that love the light gun genre, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. But honestly, this cabinet is still exceedingly rare. Last video I did, there were some reports of them in the US. There's probably like 4 or 5 out there, and maybe 3 or 4 in Japan. But honestly, there isn't one near me. It takes like an hour drive to get there, and half the time I go, the machine is out of order. So I am so excited for other people to be able to check this out. But the death fight is awesome here, and I love that the game kind of speeds up and slows itself down. But the whipping mechanic is a ton of fun. It's unlike a lot of light gun games you have played before, but if you ever played a Maison Flash of the Blade on the Naomi or Tezuki on the Konami Viper board, you're going to understand how it works. Those are 2 sword games where you swung a sword around and it recorded your motion with sensors, just like this game does here. But the controls are responsive. I was able to swipe Death's Scythe out of the air, and outside of not being fast enough there and Death gets away, everything just seems to work. This is so impressive for a first draft. Just be aware that if you do decide to play this tomorrow or when the file comes out, and I will tweet and change the description so you know where it is, currently sound effects do not work either. You're just going to be listening to the soundtrack, but the great thing about that is the soundtrack is an absolute banger. 10 out of 10, it's great Castlevania music. So much so that I pretty much think it's time to give you a little bit of a taste of it. But I love these little sweeping intros here as we get into the castle. It gives you just a little bit of something to look at, kind of a little bit of flavor visual there. And of course there is some story, but you'll have to wait to find out what it is in English, because I just didn't really feel like doing that. I always play games in Japanese. If that's weird, leave me a comment down below. But you will see this is a very dark environment. It's only going to start getting darker. But like I said, wanted to promise you a little bit of the taste of the soundtrack. So go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds or so, and I will be right back, and I'll talk more about what's currently playable on Castlevania and the preservation efforts to make sure other people can play it. But enjoy! Kind of sounds like you're in church, but this is the Church of the Vampire, so it is totally different. But getting back to the gameplay here, it is just so great how these controls transpose over, and if I'm playing incorrectly, that is because it's been probably over a decade since I played this game. I can't honestly remember what the year was, so I am seeing this for the first time, and I actually did use my first capture because I wanted my first experience to be in the video and not me play it 5 or 6 times, try to get better at it to give you better gameplay. I think I'm doing okay. Leave me a comment down below. But you will see here just how atmospheric and brooding this game truly is. It's dark, it's oppressive, and shooting those candles to get more heart power-ups is definitely going to be to your detriment, but I do love that, and I can't wait to see what other people think of this effort from Konami, because it really is a great game, and it's one that I got a lot of comments from the last video saying they didn't even realize existed. So leave me a comment down below and tell me if you knew this game was real, or if you found out about it from my first release video. And don't forget, those files are still up on archive. Go ahead and search them. There's no link below. It's just too hard for me to do that. But this is just classic Castlevania from a first-person view, and it is so much fun. And this is one of those games, it's such a pivot for the series, but it really works compared to something like Castlevania Judgment, the fighting game, which was a great attempt and kind of made a little bit of sense, but it maybe wasn't a genre that Castlevania needed to go in, and I do hope that they start making more Castlevania games soon. It's been way too long since we got one. But this room right here reminds me of the dining room in the Curian Mansion, and you will see actively the trade-off between hearts and visibility. I shoot all 4 candles to get all 4 hearts, but now I can barely see what's going on screen. And there should be some visual adjustments as well. This might be something that you want to brighten up a little bit, but I did leave it stock in Resolve versus actually lifting the image so you could see what it would look like coming off of a real board. And stay tuned at the end of the video. I'm going to go over the settings to make sure you can get this to run on your PC, because we do need to reconfigure the INI file to stay a little bit to get it running. But you'll see here there is a combo meter as well, and the higher you combo up, the more hearts you're going to get for that. Once you get past a 6, you're going to start getting that combo bonus heart, And that's going to be very important because it keeps you from having to shoot out all of your actual light in a stage to keep that heart meter up, because those projectiles are going to prove to be very important, especially in boss fights. And just a heads up, down below at the bottom of the description of this video is my Discord server link, and I have a channel there where people are happy to help you get this set up on your computer when it is out. We've done troubleshooting and kind of support for different things like Thrill Drive 3 or Thrill Drive or other games that we've released, so make sure that you do check that out, because I know some people aren't as technically minded as others, and my server is happy to help you any way we can. Just remember, if you come in, be polite, ask nicely. The people that help, including myself, do it when we have spare time, so it might take you an hour or two to get an answer, but I can guarantee you'll get it. And now that we move on to the stage 2 boss, it's not Castlevania with a bone dragon here, and old Bonesy is ready to fight. And honestly, I always love the bone dragon. It is such a fun thing. They call him White Dragon here, but he's always going to be Bone Dragon to my heart. And this is why you want to definitely shoot the candles out and bring those projectiles into the bosses, because for the most part you are very far away, and it's only for certain instances that you actually get up close to the boss. But because we saved all these hearts here, we're able to unload those daggers onto him and really knock that bar down. And because we're getting combos, we're refilling our heart meter at the same time. That is 100% going to be a strategy, and of course it's Castlevania, so you can swap sub-weapons out, and we got the Holy Cross, which does a hell of a lot more damage than our basic dagger, just like a regular Castlevania game. And you will see old Bone Dragon here is down for the count, and it's time to move on to level 3. Well, theoretically it's time to move on to level 3. When this file comes out, might be later tomorrow, might be later in the week, I will let you know. It does like to freeze on stage 3. Now remember, if you do want to run this when it's out, you have to come down here to settings.csv, and that is what we need to change a couple settings in to make sure that this will run on your system. Without changing this, it's not going to bypass the IO checks. You'll see here in this thing there's going to be 2 entries, emulate IO and emulate sensor. You need to switch those from false to true. Don't change the spacing, don't leave it underscored or anything like that, just capital true, and you'll be fine. And all of the free play secret characters and otherwise are down below that. When you turn it on, the IO board will give you an OK because we are emulating it, and you will be right back into Castlevania the Arcade. I do hope that this patch comes out shortly. I have been told by the people that made it they're hoping for later today, but there might be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Please be patient. You know I'm going to make sure you guys get this. But short of that, Castlevania the Arcade is playable on my system, and very shortly it'll be playable on all of yours, and it will cost nothing, and I'm so happy for that. Otherwise, once this game is fully completable, I'll do one more video showing a playthrough and giving it a review, but that's all we got for today on a random Tuesday. Castlevania the Arcade is here, it's playable, and so far it's pretty amazing. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.